If you're enjoying this podcast from us here at Which, then why not become a Which member? Right now, we've got a special offer, especially for podcast listeners, meaning you can choose any of our 3 membership tiers for 50% off the usual price. Starting at just £39.50 for a full year, you can get Which magazine delivered direct to your door. For the same price, you could also choose a digital Which subscription, giving you access to all of our product reviews, the Which app, and the digital edition of Which magazine. What's more, you'll also be able to use the Ask Which service for personalised one-to-one buying advice. Or why not get a full access Which subscription for just £49.50 for a full year? Don't forget, that's 50% off the usual price. To join Which or to find out more, just head to which.co.uk/podcast offer. That's which.co.uk/podcast offer, or click the link in the description for today's podcast for 50% off a Which annual subscription.
Driving abroad is never the most relaxing part of a holiday. Whether it's squeezing a shiny hire car down a tiny Tuscan alley or doing calculations between miles and kilometres while shooting down the autobahn. But a Which undercover investigation has uncovered the stresses that can start before you even get hold of the keys. Pushy salespeople trying to add hundreds of pounds to your car hire bill for no good reason. I'm Harry Kind.
And I'm Lisa Webb.
And this is Get Answers for living your best consumer life.
When life gives you questions, Which? Get Answers.
I mean, usually you're not bringing your own car on holiday with you unless you're off on the ferry to France. Other than that, you're hiring cars. Do you enjoy that part of travelling?
Good question, Harry. I mean, you mentioned the taking your own car. I prefer driving my own car because I know it and I'm used to it and it's just easier that way. Hiring cars, I find quite stressful because you're always a little bit anxious. What if I scratch a wheel? What if there is an incident? But also, I just don't really love driving on holiday because it means I miss out on wine.
I mean, I am the king of car hire, actually, because I don't have a car. So even in the UK, I just hire cars. I use Zip cars quite a bit. I do like peer-to-peer car hire. And so I've done a fair bit of it. And I have got it down to a fine art, filming all the outside of the car, refusing all of the pushy sales tactics, and just generally being as low risk as possible. But we've had a load of listener comments, actually, about car hire and their experiences abroad. Ian has said that all of his experience have been excellent, much like me, as he does a boatload of research before he travels.
That's good. I hope he's using Which for his research then.
I can only believe he is.
What about Darren? Darren said that he hired a car from Enterprise in the US. The first car had a gearbox issue. The replacement car had many electrical faults. And then the next replacement had exhaust fumes entering the cabin through the aircon system. Finally, the fourth replacement was okay.
Well, a little bit later on, we're going to be talking to 2 pros at driving abroad because they actually live in a van that they're taking all across Europe. They don't really hire that many cars, I'm guessing, but they can convince us of the pros of a road trip and how to, get around.
But first, let's welcome Lauren Bell from the Which Travel team. She was part of our undercover investigation into car hire firms in Spain, and she's here to tell us all about it. Hi, Lauren.
Hello, hello.
Okay, first of all, can you give us a bit of background on this investigation? Set the scene for us. What was going on?
Okay, so as you know, we carry out a survey every year about car hire brands. We're always hearing from different consumers that feel under pressure to buy the insurance at the car hire desk. And you shouldn't. You don't have to buy it. Brands shouldn't bully you into buying it. It's optional. And in the latest survey, 89% of people said they worry about being taken advantage of at the car rental desk. Obviously, though, some companies are worse than others. And one we hear negative feedback time and time again about is Gold Car. And back in 2019, actually, we went undercover then and we filmed Gold Car staff aggressively trying to sell us their insurance. When we showed them the footage afterwards, they said they'd changed their ways. But 5 years later, they're still the worst rated brand in our survey, and Dollar isn't far behind either. And have a look at some online reviews as well, and you'll see people complaining about the staff at Gold Car, at Dollar, and plus a third brand called OK Mobility. They're actually Spanish, and it's all because of the insurance hard sell.
So when you hire a car, what's actually included?
So you always have a basic insurance. It's called a collision damage waiver. I've researched this loads. It's super confusing, but yeah, it covers the basics, and it means that even if you crash the car, you wouldn't be liable for the whole thing. So they're not going to say suddenly you owe us 20 grand. Yeah, even if it's a write-off, you wouldn't be responsible. If anything happens, you will pay some excess. So that's usually around £1,200, but can be as much as £2,500.
So that can be quite a lot, can't it? That's a fair chunk of money to be worried about losing if you scratch the car.
Yeah, obviously that is a lot of money. So
and let me get straight on this. So that collision damage waiver, which is pretty standard, is that like a legal obligation across Europe, or is that just going to be in pretty much every car hire company?
It's in the T's and C's of pretty much every car hire in Europe, yeah.
Okay, and we say that it can go up to 2,500. If you scratch the car, for example, it's not instantly $2,500, is it? It should be something that reflects how much it's going to cost to fix that problem.
Yeah, absolutely right. They're not going to charge you $2,500, I would hope, anyway, for a little scratch. But yeah, they could charge you 200, 300, 400, 500 euros. It's still quite a lot of money.
And interestingly, we did an investigation a couple of years back about the amount that car hire companies actually charge for repairs compared to what it actually costs. We did it where we got a few trusted mechanics to look at some of the damage and actually cost up what they thought it would cost to fix. And very often we were seeing car hire companies charging way more for fixing a scratch or a dent or a wheel ding than it would actually have cost them to have fixed. So it does feel sometimes like some of those companies are taking the proverbial.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all. But there is a way around that. So you could take out additional insurance, so you're liable for even less if anything happens. There's two ways to do this. So one way is to buy it direct from your car rental company.
And that's what they're mostly upselling, right? Is that kind of extra insurance? Yeah. That's what they're trying to get you to pay for at the desk.
Yeah, so it's totally legitimate, totally valid. You could buy it from them, but it's just really, really pricey. And we found as well, it's not usually very comprehensive in comparison to a third party. So that's the other way that you can go about it. You could buy an excess reimbursement insurance from an online third party provider, and you can do that before you go. So the cover is cheaper, it's better, and the difference is though, if there is any damage, you will have to pay out to the car hire company, and then you'll claim it back from the insurer later. So that's where it differs.
So you've mentioned a few companies there. Which ones did we actually target for the investigation?
Yeah, so we targeted Gold Car, OK Mobility, which is a Spanish brand, and Dollar. We basically chose them because we either had negative feedback from members or we saw some terrible reviews online about their pushy tactics.
And then where did we actually look at this? Were we doing this all in Spain?
Yes, because it's just, the most popular place for Brits to travel to. So we chose two of the most popular airports, which is Alicante and Malaga.
So Gold Car in Malaga, I think we've got some recordings of what happened there. So let's have a listen to what happened with Gold Car in Malaga.
Full. And the full protection for this car for the 6 days, 124. It's a local payment on collection. You've got the full protection, road assistance included. In case of damages, you don't pay anything.
I already have that, do I?
You don't. It's a payment on collection. It's 124 euros.
124 euros?
Yes, for the 6 days.
What's that for?
The full protection.
Okay. And what do I have now?
No protection, nothing. In case of damages, you pay everything. Road assistance is not included. And you have to leave a deposit of 1,400 euros.
Road assistance is not included.
So Lauren, tell us what's happening here.
So firstly, they say nothing is included with the rental, but that isn't true, obviously, because you get this collision damage waiver as standard with your rental.
So that was definitely included with Gold Car?
Yes, absolutely.
But they just told us it wasn't?
Yes.
Outrageous.
So they didn't directly say, you do not have CDW. They just said, nothing's included, So they kind of get around it a little bit. And then the staff member goes on to say roadside assistance isn't included either, but the leaflet they handed to us at the desk says that if your car breaks down, it's included. It just isn't included if you would have an accident. You'd have to pay for it. So they're just not quite telling the truth there.
And was it the same in Alicante as well, or was this only in Malaga?
No, exactly the same. We got told the exact same thing. It's just really outrageous.
Okay. So how about some of the others? Should we have a chat about Dollar? What happened with Dollar?
So we had a smooth experience in Alicante, but Malaga was different. Do you want to take a listen to the clip?
Yeah, let's hear what they had to say.
Okay, I do have this insurance.
Yeah, but this is not valid here. What is valid is what you have in the voucher. This is
Not valid?
No, for us it's not valid, this one. Even if you take something by internet with this type of company, we don't work with them. So what they say to you does not cover to our car.
So the staff member there sounded really certain. It was pretty unequivocal. Is it true, though, that the insurance we'd already bought wasn't valid?
No, that absolutely isn't true. We took out good specialist insurance before we went there. Obviously, I used our surveys to find a good policy, so I knew it was a good one. And yeah, that means that we could claim back from the insurer if anything happened. So yeah, it's not true.
It's really outrageous that they would just outright tell you that.
Yeah, I know.
Not okay. All right, well, speaking of okay, what about OK Mobility? This was our experience in Alicante.
Okay, well, I have this. It says I think it's excess insurance.
Yeah, the excess insurance is if you have an accident with another car, the other car is covered, but you need to pay everything happening in your car. It doesn't matter your excess. It doesn't matter your excess. Here is without excess and without responsibility, and this is all your responsibility about this car. So
even with this, I don't
pay that. That is not valid with us. So they will try to sell you something, but at the moment with OK Mobility, this car belongs to us. You don't have nothing included.
This is not valid.
For us, no. So it can be between you and them. Mm-hmm. If you want to stay with this, you need to leave the full responsibility here. If they give you the money or not, it's a fight between you and them. Nothing to do with us.
So we heard you say you'd bought excess reimbursement insurance. OK Mobility told you it wasn't valid. Was that true?
No, it's just absolutely not true. Once again, they even say it's only to cover the other car, which just isn't true. I'll still need to leave a big deposit and they may take some of it if I get into a scrape, but provided I get the other driver's details and get an accident report form to show the insurers, they'll pay it all back to me.
Oh, I was going to say, what was it like, Lauren, just going undercover in a foreign country? You've got a big ruse going on here with quite exciting secret cameras. What did that feel like? And did you get that feeling of being ripped off?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it was quite scary. We actually had a camera inside a coffee cup, which was quite cool. It looked like a Starbucks coffee cup from the outside, but inside was a little tiny camera, which worked really well as well. The footage was really good. So all I had to do was go up to the desk, put it down, and hopefully it recorded. But even at Gold Car, the queue was so long. We hear about this from Gold Car customers as well, is that you queue for hours. But the queue was so long that my SD card was just so full up and I had to go back to the loop, clear it, and then queue up again.
So did you find yourself going into kind of which consumer rights mode and standing up for yourself? Or did you just sort of let them do their thing and catch them out doing it?
Well, I just thought I'd go in as every other consumer would. I thought that would be the best approach because I didn't think, your average consumer is going to go, actually, I know my rights really, really well. And yeah, so I just decided to not call them out. I'd just say, oh, well, I had this policy with me that I bought before I came out here. Does that not cover me? Can I not claim back on that?
And do you think if you weren't a witch person, you would have been taken in by that? People who seem to know what they're talking about and are being quite authoritative.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really scary the way that they come across because they'll start listing everything. You'll have to pay for tiny scratches, 1 centimetre, and it'll cost you €700 and, it won't cover this. And suddenly you just start panicking. I was panicking and I knew my rights. So
add on top of that, people are coming off of a plane. They don't speak the language. There's that kind of communications barrier. You've got a kid at your arm crying, wanting to get to the hotel. So it is really no wonder that people are vulnerable to being taken advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. You just want to get the car and go, don't you? Especially, if you're queuing up for another hour on top.
Yeah, arrivals in airports is not the most fun place to be. So getting out of there is always everyone's top priority. I reckon as well, if you've been on a delayed flight, I reckon you'd be really susceptible.
Yeah. You just want to get out of there, don't you? You can think pool, wine, sunshine.
So why are these companies doing this? Why are they taking advantage and kind of how are they getting away with it?
So the companies, we've heard from an insider in the industry that staff get incentivized to upsell insurance. So that means they're going to line their own pockets by selling you it, as well as the companies. So they have every reason to sell it to you and push.
So they're potentially earning a little bit of commission every time someone goes for this really expensive insurance.
Yep, absolutely. And the likelihood is, it's going to be pretty low wage. So to get that extra commission is probably really, really appealing.
Well, I suppose there's this difference, right, between the staff on the desk and the big companies. Obviously, you can hold those individuals to account as which, but what have the companies who've employed them got to say for themselves?
So Goldcar said, bear in mind, they said they changed their ways 5 years ago. So it was really disappointing to see that some of the staff are still at it. But they said a customer basically has the right to choose to buy their cover separately. However, if this is the case, they'll be charged for any damages that occur during the rental and then claim it back later, which we know. It also said that it's committed to investigating incidences where a customer believes they've received service that does not match expectations for a low-cost brand.
I would also come back on that. The expectations for a low-cost brand, just because something is low cost does not mean that I am expecting to be upsold something that I don't need and potentially being misled by people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're just trying it on. Goldcar also added that if an employee breaches the code of ethics, they are immediately warned and penalised economically. And if breaches are repeated, that they can be subject to termination of their contract.
So they're fining their staff?
Apparently
for potentially following their instructions?
Yeah, potentially. We don't know that.
They get caught
Yeah.
by a journalist with a secret camera.
Yeah, which I feel like they're blaming individual staff members there, which may or may not be true.
What about the others?
So OK Mobility said that their employees always provide information about the coverage or extras that the company offers. And in 100% of cases, customers are always informed of the cover they are contracting. And it said, we work vigorously to protect fair competition in the marketplace and the free choice of our customers based on the information presented during their interaction with us through our agents or our online communication channels.
They're saying that they always provide information about the coverage and anything that might be of interest to the user. I think that's sort of the problem we're talking about here, is that they then start shoving it down your throat.
Yes, exactly. When I actually went up to the OK Mobility desk, I said, so I have to pick one or the other? And she was like, yes. So
that is shady.
I know. And when I said, OK, I'm going to have to go away and think about it, she said, oh, well, it's up to you. You don't have to take it. So she really backpedaled. She backpedaled when I said I'm going to leave the desk, basically.
There was one more. What did Dollar say?
So Dollar said the actions described don't align with their corporate values or policies. And they said that providing outstanding customer service is their top priority. And they regularly take steps to ensure all their staff adhere to their standards.
Fair play. They actually said this doesn't align with us. They're the only ones that said that.
Yeah, it's true. So just to point out that when we went up to the Dollar desk, it was actually Hertz branded because they're just not very big in Europe. It's more of an American car hire company. So it was Hertz staff, but they didn't add anything extra. So they're the same company. So
given all of this information you found out, what's actually going to be the best advice that you can give people who are going to be hiring cars this summer?
It's hard, but you've just got to stand your ground, and you'll save yourself money if you buy excess reimbursement insurance before you go on holiday. So if the rental staff then try to push you into buying more at the desk, just stand your ground, say no, if you can. It's really hard.
And is it better to do this kind of stuff with credit cards or debit cards?
So you need to take a credit card with you. A debit card just won't cut it. They'll ask you to put, say, £1,200 deposit down, and they'll say, sorry, we don't take debit cards. You have to take our policy out. So make sure you take a credit card.
I have seen cases of people going to pick up cars at a hire car desk and being refused because they don't have a credit card, full stop, and then just being like, I have nowhere to go right now. It is really worth your while. If you've got a credit card, bring it along to the car hire, even if you're not using reimbursement insurance. I do think, though, excess insurance is one of my just top single line piece of advice. Just don't buy that insurance at the desk. Buying it online is so good. And you guys have done a ranking of the best and worst providers out there with some prices. And like the really nice news is that the cheapest ones are some of the best, right?
Yeah, that's the great thing. You could save hundreds of pounds just by choosing an online policy with a third party. I think you just need to be aware that with that policy, you have to be willing to put down that deposit because they will take it from you.
Lauren, if people want to watch like the behind the scenes, the actual footage from this investigation, where can they find that?
On our website and on our social media channels. So check it out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And don't forget, if you're a Which Travel subscriber, you can read more about this in the travel magazine. We'll pop a link in the show notes for you to find out more.
Well, after the break, we'll be chatting to a couple who have a lot of experience driving in different countries. They'll be giving us their top tips for driving when abroad. That's next.
Hi, Lucia here from the Which Money podcast. Join us each week as we bring you the best experts and top advice to help you make the most of your money. From property prices to budgeting, investment platforms to pensions, we'll be here to keep you informed. Not only that, but we've just launched Money Shorts. These are brand new fortnightly episodes that will give you a taster of the Which Money magazine that is delivered to members every other month. So to hear the main podcast and our brand new Money Shorts episodes, just search for Which Money wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Get Answers. Don't forget, we always want to hear from you. You can email us your comments and questions to podcasts@which.co.uk or get in touch on social media. We're at Which UK.
Now, if your summer holiday is just around the corner and you've got a hire car ready and waiting, maybe one thing that's on your mind is driving in a different country. It's driving on the wrong side of the road. You don't know about the rules of the road. It can be a bit confusing. It's a stressful situation. But we are joined now by Will and Mira, who you might know from @Van on a Mission on Instagram and TikTok, who are just experts in driving around the continent. Thank you for joining us. Hello to you both.
Hi, thank you very much for having us on.
Now, you're joining us from Slovenia at the moment, is that right?
Yes, yeah, that's right. We are parked up in a car park in Slovenia, having travelled through the top of Italy in the past couple of months. Yeah, but I should also say, we are not experts in driving across Europe. We've done it for the past year, but please don't come to us for tips, anything like that.
Well, that is perfect because you're not Jeremy Clarkson and neither are you the Gumball Rally, right? You are normal people who are basically have taken yourselves out on an adventure. I mean, first of all, describe what you've been up to for the last year generally. You are living in a van.
Yeah, so we've spent the past year just travelling around Europe in our van with our cat as well, which some people might find very strange. But yeah, we finished university and we just didn't really know what we wanted to do with our lives, but we both knew we wanted to travel. So we decided to do this project and convert just an empty van, and we made it into a beautiful little tiny home. And yeah, we've just been traveling around. We've done 3 main road trips, I'd say, so far. So we spent a few months doing Scandinavia. So we did Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and little parts of Germany and the Netherlands. Then we went back to the UK for Christmas for a little break. And since then, we've done kind of a winter trip in Spain and Portugal. And we're now back on the road for the summer. So we've done Italy, Slovenia, and we're heading into Eastern Europe now. So yeah, a little bit of everything.
I mean, that sounds delightful.
They're living the dream, aren't they?
It is.
While we sit in a sweaty basement in London talking to you. Just very, very jealous.
It's plenty sweaty here as well.
Yeah.
So you've basically chosen to carry your home around with you on your back effectively with this van. What is it about driving around in a van that is better, say, than going on a load of trains around Scandinavia or even, just flying out somewhere and staying put? What are you really experiencing?
I'd say we're not doing it the conventional way. Like you say, there are lots of people who have done it, interrailing and things like that in the past. But I think we like this life. It's nice to have all of the comforts of home with you. We can have our own shower and our own kitchen and cook our own meals. And at the end of it, we're hoping to have almost an asset. I mean, I know it's a liability, but it's something that we can sell and have a little head start on whatever we do next.
I've been looking through your TikTok and it is just shot after shot of these amazing remote locations, which don't feel like they're places that you're working. They're places where you're driving around in an asset. They feel like the edge of the world, some of them. Presumably, those are places that you just couldn't get to without driving.
Yeah. Honestly, the places that we are able to get to in the van are just incredible. And we always say they're places that you wouldn't even think about really holidaying to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You kind of just end up there. You're driving through these little towns and you just end up on like the edge of the world. Like, I don't know, just on the side of a mountain, and it is just beautiful. That is also obviously why we chose to do this trip as well, and why we choose to live like this. It's for those moments and those experiences and those incredible park ups.
Even when we are really pushing it up some steep hills with this massive van.
How are you deciding where to go? Like, these are places you're saying you wouldn't necessarily think of visiting. So how do you even know they're there to visit them?
So we're not very good planners, but we have kind of a loose itinerary of where we want to go. And then in terms of park ups, we use Park for Night quite a lot. That's Park, the number 4, and then Night, which is a resource that pretty much every van lifer we've run into seems to use. It's kind of an open source app where people can go on and mark down places that they've stayed and give them ratings, and other people can go on and comment their experience as well, so that we can essentially vet places that we're going to head to before we even get there. That's been super useful.
Yeah, but I think also going off that, it's like Will said, we have a loose plan of where we're going to go. So, for example, we went to the Dolomites. We really wanted to do certain hikes, but the park ups that we went to weren't necessarily places that we would have had on our itinerary.
And when you say park ups, these aren't camper van sites. They aren't places with a shower block, presumably. These are places on the side of the road a lot of the time.
I mean, they're not directly on the side of the road.
There's all sorts of different types of places, but yeah.
The majority of the time we're in lovely nature places in the middle of a forest or on the top of a mountain, next to maybe very quiet roads or things like that, but very much remote places.
Harry, you mentioned, you don't have shower blocks, and you're saying you might be in the middle of the woods. So I'm going to ask the obvious question here, which is, have you got a loo?
It's a loo. We have a loo. I don't, in the loosest sense.
You're selling it short with that reaction.
It is a bucket, essentially. It's a composting
toilet.
Yeah.
But it is a bucket. Yeah, no, that's right. But, we have our own little toilet box which slides out from inside our shower. So we have facilities we can use.
We do have a bathroom. It has a toilet in it and a shower and everything we could possibly want, really.
You mentioned driving up these steep hills in a van. You're going to these remote places. I think there's a lot of people who really would be a bit scared about going off the beaten path and trying out different places in different parts of the world. Have you had kind of difficult experiences, or how do you approach that kind of adventure element to it when you're driving?
Yeah, a mixed bag, really. Again, because we're young and foolish, we tend to throw ourselves into these, we'll find a place and not really care about how we get there. So we've often come across roads which are bumpy or steep or gravelly that we think, maybe this won't be great for the van, but we've done it anyway. And it is nerve-wracking.
Yeah, no, I agree. We tend to want to find the best place possible to park up as well. And it doesn't matter where it is. We'll just do it anyway, even though I think we forget that we're in a 7-meter van sometimes. And we have been in situations where we've been stuck on the side of a mountain. In fact, quite recently when we were it was in Italy in the Alps, we went up this tiny little track and the back of our van got stuck on
it was a very, very uneven track, and we'd gone over a bit of a ravine, and the whole back end was stuck, and the back wheels are spinning, and we've got no traction. But What a beautiful spot, though. I mean,
it was absolutely stunning. But we were so nervous because we're like, how are we going to phone someone to come out here to the middle of nowhere to rescue us off the side of a mountain? But we were fine in the end.
Bit of a classic which question here then. You have roadside assistance, and is that like a European coverage that you've backed yourself up with?
Yes, we're with the RAC and we've got full European cover and we have used it. So we've had a couple of instances. We blew a tyre on the side of a road in Malaga, and that was 2 weeks after a puncture in one of our other ones, so we had no spare. So that was a rescue off the side of the road.
I know you've mentioned like tips and things like that. That would probably be one of our
one that you need.
You definitely need to get some form of insurance and cover, obviously, when you're abroad.
I mean, I don't want you to have to, at this point, rank all the countries you've ever been to. But if you're thinking, where is a very nice, very easy place for someone who's maybe just starting out in wanting to do a bit of a road trip? Where in the world have you been that's been, I suppose, quite easy? Is Scandinavia a nice, easy place to drive around?
Yeah.
Yes. In terms of driving, that was going to be my go-to, was Scandinavia. The roads are pristine. There are not that many people on them. The traffic is quite light. So the only thing you need to keep vigilant for is staying on the right-hand side of the road.
I mean, if you were trying to sell this to someone, whether your age or someone who's just reached retirement, what would you say to them? Why should people try out van life?
Honestly, I mean, for me, it is just an adventure. It's the best adventure that I've been on so far as well. You get to go to incredible places and you get to travel where you want to, when you want to. You aren't waiting for a train, you aren't waiting for a plane. You just wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to go see that. And then you just drive there and you do it. And it's so much fun. We've had days where we feel like we want to go surfing. So we just head to the coast and we go surfing. And that's what we do for the day. Or you want to try out a different restaurant or something that's been recommended and you just drive there. And it's so nice to have that freedom, and just every day is exciting because of that as well.
Let's say there's going to be a load of people who would love to go off in a van in Europe, but maybe they're going to start off with they are taking out a hire car from the resort for an afternoon to go and explore the local area. Is there anything that you've learned about driving abroad, whether that's like actual tips or a mindset that you think people should know?
If you are nervous about driving in a different country or wherever you're hiring your car, one of the things that's helped us a lot is looking up the rules and regulations in that country before you go. So you can just do a quick search online and it will come up with everything that you'll need to know, the speed limits, any sort of strange rules that they might have. Like in France, you have priorité à droite, which is just crazy. It's silly, but it just means that any road coming from the right has priority over any just like other road, which is strange for people in the UK.
Because things like toll roads are different as well, speed cameras and locations, and you know how often you could potentially be stopped by the police, if at all. It's all just useful to do a bit of research beforehand, and you can kind of have that peace of mind when you do start driving. Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, I want to just leave you to go and enjoy Slovenia and just get out in the sun. Where can people find your adventures and follow what you're up to?
So at the moment, we use TikTok and Instagram, and our tag, I think you mentioned it at the beginning, but it's at Van on a Mission.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck on the rest of your travels. Where are you off to next?
We are off to Bosnia at the moment. We're heading there tonight, actually.
Oh, well, good luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
I found that very inspiring and only 99.9% envy-inducing.
Oh, I was so jealous the whole way through. I think I want to be them right now.
Do you know, I've got my one driving abroad tip, which is fun for mathematicians.
Oh, hello.
You can roughly convert kilometers per hour to miles per hour using the Fibonacci series. So like 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, right? If it's 130 kilometers an hour, it's about 8 miles an hour. If it's 80 kilometers an hour, it's about 50 miles an hour. So if you know your Fibonacci numbers, you are pretty good at converting kilometers to miles.
Is that deliberate?
No, it just happens that phi is a pretty similar number to the ratio between miles and kilometers.
Such fun. You learn something every day, Harry.
Yeah.
We are all now off to make sure we can do Fibonacci conversions just so that we don't have to look at the speedo.
Yeah. I've got any mathematicians with any corrections on that, please direct them to maths@which.co.uk.
Don't tell us, because we don't know. For more travel advice like we've talked about today, then why not become a Which travel member? You get access to our travel magazine, as well as travel legal advice whenever you need it. Find out how to join via the link in the show notes.
Today's Get Answers was presented by me, Harry Kind, alongside Lisa Webb, produced by James Rowe and Rob Lilly-Jones, and edited by Eric Breer. And thanks again to our wonderful guests, Lauren Bell and Will and Mira, joining us from Slovenia. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
As well as being an expert on money matters, did you know that Which also has a team of experts in various aspects of UK law? The Which Legal Advice Service gives its members access to this team, allowing them to get advice on a range of legal matters that impact consumers' everyday lives. And right now, you can join the Which Legal Advice Service and save 30% off the usual annual price. So whether it's a rental dispute, a last-minute holiday cancellation, or legal employment advice, Which can give you personalised one-to-one advice in a simple, convenient and affordable manner. Don't struggle in silence or suffer the stress of wading through endless streams of online information from unreliable sources. Join online and book your appointment to speak to one of our experts to get the advice and guidance you need, tailored to you. Plus, right now, you can join and get legal support from Which for a whole year for just £69.30, a saving of 30%. Just go to which.co.uk/legal advice to find out more, or click the link in the podcast show notes. This offer ends on the 31st of August, so don't miss out.